Okay, this is really cool. Let's bring in Kari Lake to weigh in on the state of the media as the 2024 race enters a new phase, aside from one of the most popular GOP figures in America. That woman right there, Kari Lake herself, was a famous news broadcaster in Arizona. She's also rumored to be on the short list for President Trump's vice president on that ticket. Kari, really good to have you on. So this whole media thing, we have the NAACP saying, don't go to Florida because DeSantis is terrible to minorities, and then the ladies of The View saying Tim Scott doesn't know what it's like to be a black man in America. The media's lost their collective mind, have they not?
Yeah. They're living on planet crazy, and I don't frankly want to be on that same planet with them because they've lost their minds. They'll say anything. It shows you how desperate they are. They're just completely desperate right now.
Let me ask you this, Kari, if I may. And, this kind of shocked me. Maybe I'm missing something, and I really do. And Trump is brilliant. He works the media to perfection. But this whole idea of the fight that is going on down here in Florida between Governor DeSantis and Disney, it represents so much for conservatives. They love what DeSantis is doing, kind of muting Disney a little bit against all their woke nonsense. And Trump somehow kind of got behind Disney a little bit on that. Do you think it's something that maybe he should, move move a little bit in favor of against Disney in favor of DeSantis? Or am I missing something?
Well, Eric, I believe that fighting woke is a worthy cause. Absolutely. There are a few things more important, honestly, than stopping the radical indoctrination and, frankly, the sexual mutilation of our children. But we can't do it half-assed. When you pick a fight with Disney, you need to play to win. And so far, Governor DeSantis has been outworked and outmaneuvered by Disney. As far as I know, Reedy Creek still exists. They're still hosting trans events at their park. This indoctrination is continuing, and they're actually rubbing it in the faces of American families. If you can't beat Donald Duck, how are you going to beat Donald Trump? I think that's the question we have to ask when it comes to Governor DeSantis. And I think he should stay in Florida and continue fighting for the people there and try to finish that fight. I'd rather see President Trump, who's a deal maker, who can make things happen, take on woke corporations. And I know for a fact he gets results. Now,
do you think he would bang Disney a little harder? Is that? I guess that's what we're saying here. Can you weigh in on Tim Scott getting into the race? What are your thoughts on that one?
I think Tim Scott is a good man, and I think he's been a great lawmaker. I know that he and President Trump worked really hard on the opportunity zones that actually were proven to turn areas that had crumbled and where nobody wanted to invest into areas where money was pouring in, the neighborhoods were improving, jobs were becoming available. And so I applaud him for working with President Trump. I think we all know that President Trump's going to be the nominee. Tim Scott's not going to be the nominee, but I'm sure there'd be a great place for him somewhere in the administration. And it'll be great to see. He had a raucous crowd there. I know they planned for many, many weeks for that. And I think they had a lot of fun during their big announcement. But I don't think he can bring that much enthusiasm around the country. That being said, I like what he said. He's right. We need to work outside just our America First base, move outside Republicans. We need to have plans that bring in independents and even Democrats. And I think that President Trump's Agenda 47 does just that. He's talking about securing the border, stopping the cartels. I know that even Democrats want to make sure that their kids don't get their hands on deadly fentanyl. President Trump's talking about returning safe streets. I know that even Democrats want to make sure when they're out walking on the street, heading out maybe from a game to a restaurant, that they're safe and that their cities are safe. President Trump has an agenda that will work for all Americans. He proved that during his 4 years in office when the economy was working for every single class of citizen, every sector. Didn't matter what your skin color was, didn't matter what your political beliefs were. His economy worked for everybody, and we had a secure border.
And this afternoon, we found out that Ron DeSantis will announce his launch for presidency tomorrow, somewhere between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern is what the word is. And he's doing it with Elon Musk on Twitter, which is an interesting way to do it, which I don't think is a bad thing. And by the way, folks, just so everyone knows, and Kari Lake knows this, we want to talk about all conservative people entering the race.
Right.
It's not a bad thing to have a conversation about where the Conservative Party is. You don't have to be in favor of just one or the other. How about we all get together and realize and make the world realize how important the conservative voice is in America, needs to be reinvigorated.
Well, absolutely. And I've said it before. I think that Governor DeSantis has done a fine job in Florida, and the people just reelected him. I think it's kind of a bait and switch type thing when you say you're going to be there and be your governor, and then you just immediately start running for president. We have a great candidate in President Trump, and everyone knows I support President Trump, and I think there'll be a time for Ron DeSantis. I think he's can work 4 more years in Florida and then come around in 28 and make it happen. But I don't think I don't think DeSantis can beat Joe Biden. As a matter of fact, I know he can't beat Joe Biden. Because I think that the MAGA movement, the America First movement, is so turned off by what they've seen from him and the people who are surrounding DeSantis that I'm not sure that they would vote for him in a general. I hate to say that, but I'm concerned about us beating Biden. And I know for a fact that Donald J. Trump can beat Joe Biden.